Hey, what's up everybody? Bdf 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so hopefully everything records just fine. I got all types of stuff going on. I gotta get big grocery stuff done. Gotta go to both Trader Joe's and Target. But I also got different things going on with my phone, NBA draft stuff I gotta pay attention to. So I probably shouldn't be making a video right now, but I did want to check in with everybody. I wish everybody a fantastic weekend. I haven't been out to Hollywood in a long time. I kind of don't want to go to Hollywood today, to be honest with you, because of whatever stuff I got planned on my phone. But, I think the best way to kind of get everything done is to just take my old route. Plus, I haven't climbed a hill probably in about 3 weeks, maybe. I haven't been to Hollywood in 2 weeks. So it's probably best that I do that. There's no way I'm going to be able to go to just Trader Joe's or just Target. That's just not what I need. I need to go to both places today. Completely run out of food, and some stuff I'm just not gonna be able to live without. So that's what it is, man. It's supposed to get up to about 94 today, so the walk back is gonna be hot and heavy backpack stuff going on. But that's just what it is, man. So yeah, man, I'm having a good day so far. No complaints. Slept well, good exercise. I did my Hunter's Blue for the first time in like 2 weeks yesterday. I've been really slacking on that since getting into this room, but I got it done, and just normal stuff like that has been done. Haven't done any art, but I did sort through some work, some art, some music for the playlist that could be made. So I have one to make. I'll get to that when I get to it, but and still 2 playlists to do art for in the tuck. I actually made a rock playlist a few days ago. This group called Bondo, I believe is their name. Bondo dropped an album last Thursday that I really liked, and so I went back and checked the rest of their music and was able to make a 2-hour and 17-minute playlist of their music. It's long as hell. It could, and then the music becomes a bit redundant, I'm not gonna lie. It's not really something I'm gonna listen to every day, but when I was in that zone, it was very nice to make that playlist. So yeah, that was cool. Learning about new bands and stuff like that. I'm not a big rock guy, but over the last, say, 2 years, I've gotten, I have an acquired taste for a certain type of rock music, and they make that type of music. So that was fun for me. And yeah, man, that's where we're at. That's where we're at. I know there's some things to talk about, no doubt, but I kind of feel like it's smart for me to just keep my phone battery charged up and ready to go, because I have 2 drafts, long drafts, but drafts that I'm gonna have to check periodically that start up today, and then 2 others that are ongoing right now. And so I'm just gonna have to check my phone left and right to make sure that I pick my players and to make sure my stuff ain't going into auto draft so that my teams don't end up being something I don't want them to be. So I've gone in hyper overdrive with this draft thing this summer. I got more NBA teams than usual, but that's really what it is. I'm a draft fanatic. You guys know that if you've been following me for a couple of years. I do this every summer. So in football and basketball, I'm a fantasy fan for sure. So yeah, man, that's really what it is. Everything else is just same old stuff we talk about, man. All eyes on Gaza, all eyes on the Middle East, Iran. I've taken in so much information over the last 3 years about Middle East and about Israel and about America, and I talk about as much of it as I can, but I need to take notes at this point in order to know what to talk about. Some stuff will just pop in my head when it's time to talk about it. This would be the greatest time for me. As you guys know, I like to make these videos, but right now I'm not really thinking about all the stuff that's going on with this evil ass government right now. And I'm afforded the ability to tune out because of the privilege of living in a space where ain't no bombs bursting in the air, ain't no bodies laying in the street. But I don't know how long that's going to last with these evil people controlling things. And so that's what I want to say. I just think that life as we know it, the peaceful life that we know it, what I can bank on is that corporations are still going to want to bleed this place dry. They're still going to want to do the big things that they do that make big money for them. Right? And even if they do build a greater Israel, it's going to take a very long time for them to build it up. Let's assume that they are successful in their genocide and successful in turning Israel into a bigger America. What my prediction is right now, and I've been thinking about this off and on for the last couple of days, is the devil worshippers, those who want to bring about the end of the world, are going to have to battle it out with those who want to see the world continue so that they can make profit. Just like I had a prediction that white supremacy and Zionist supremacy going to have to fight. And we're seeing that start to transpire right now, where American whites are very unhappy with Jews, very unhappy. They've gotten a whiff of what's going on with their country. And it's turning into a rift that will likely turn into a war. I think that Zionism is going to also end up in a battle with just good old-fashioned capitalism. Because Zionism wants to destroy America, and capitalism makes way too much money off of America. Now look at all these big-ass stadiums we got out here that they fill full of people every couple of days for concerts and sports and stuff like that. They're not going to want that to go away just so that these extremists can fulfill some biblical prophecy where nobody's alive anymore. They want to make money. People want to be alive so that they can make money. Profit is the bottom line. And you're going to find that it's going to be a conflict between those who are hell-bent on bringing hell to earth and those who are hell-bent on making money on earth. And if you get rid of all the labor and get rid of all the consumers, then you're essentially bringing about an environment for which no money is made. And that is absolutely unacceptable to a lot of powerful people. That's unacceptable. They don't give a shit about your Bible. They don't care about your Quran. They don't care about none of that. They care about their money, man. And I just wonder who's more powerful. The chosen few Zionist supremacists, or the elite that the bottom line and the top line and every line in between is about making money. Because they're going to have to fight. They're going to have to figure out who controls the world for real. And they're aligned with one another to a degree, but are going to separate at a certain point. And that certain point is when you're trying to bring about the end of the destruction of America. Now you're talking about moving one of the biggest money makers in the world. When you talk about starting to blow up some of these arenas that they building up, that they plan to have stand, and these train stations that they're building. I'm looking at my city alone. They got plans for train stations in 2060. You understand what I'm saying? If you start threatening those plans, and you're going to start finding out how many people align with your supremacy to dominate the world and make it your own, and everybody be Jewish and Zionists and devil worshiping all, versus those individuals who will only take that as far as they can take it, is to make profit for themselves. Now, if you can promise them they're going to have profit money making spaces from which to do this at elsewhere, then they'll roll with you. But you got to be able to assure that they're not going to have no drop off. That means you got to be building all the stuff that you have here over there now. It can't be, and then what you got going on there in the Middle East is a need to expand, which means you're going to have to go through a lot of war for a long time. Yeah, you got a lot of friends, but those are in the Middle East if you're Zionist. But those friends are contingent upon their own survival. Once they're no longer able to survive, you start genociding them. Suddenly they're not friendly anymore. And so what you have is, while in the process of them building a greater Israel, while it's halfway done, people constantly trying to kill everybody there. And so it's a bad PR situation. It's a terrible idea in general from a spiritual and moral standpoint, but also to assume that you're going to be able to pull this off in time for everybody not to have massive drop-offs in their profit. It's a tough ask, man. This is a tough ask. Because you're surrounded by enemies. You're creating more enemies. You're trying to conquer lands that have never been conquered before. All you're doing is creating enemies. Are you sure you're going to be able to pull this off? And in the process, you're putting America at risk. You're siphoning of it all of its water. You're breaking the trust between yourself and the people in America. So you've already flushed America down the toilet, but you can't secure what you're building that's supposed to replace America is actually going to be in place. So if I'm a Rothschild, I'm looking at you like, okay, bro, well, how are we going to continue to make money here? While you're making all these enemies and throwing away what's working, what happens in between time? How many trillions of dollars do I lose because of how the transition is supposed to take place? And so as I look at all of this, putting my capitalist hat on and my I don't give a shit about human beings hat on, I say to myself, man, I'm not really sure this is a good thing backing these people, because they're already unwise and they don't seem to have a safety mat for what if things go wrong with their plan. They seem to be fine with taking losses and destroying their PR circumstances and doing these things so that everybody can see. They seem to be fine with being protested against, and potentially whatever can transpire from that, they're willing to eat. Am I willing to eat that? If I'm Rothschild the Great Third or whatever the hell, am I really ready to eat all that for these people? Yeah, we've been in cahoots with one another for 4,000 years, but now we reached a peak where their power versus my power is in place. They want to bring about the Armageddon, and I want to continue to rule the world. If you destroy the world, I don't have a world to rule. So while I understand that the Rothschilds created Israel, and I understand that the Rothschilds know a lot about Zionism and in its origins, and they were in lockstep with them for all this time, but we reached a space where Zionism's arrogance and intention to expedite the process of their domination is starting to appear to conflict with the interests of those who want the world to continue to spin so that they can make profit eternally. And I have a feeling, I'm going to say this to everybody who's watching, I have a feeling that the money makers, those who put money before ideology and relationships with spiritual entities, whether good or bad, I have a feeling they're going to be more powerful in the end. They're going to be more powerful than the devil worshippers are. Because one thing I understand about devil worship, and I tell you guys this all the time, is that it has a kill switch. It has a fail button. It's always looking to destroy itself without itself actually understanding that. It's always looking, it's never willing to compromise nothing. It will take losses. It will destroy its own people. It will betray everybody around it. It ain't going to win. It's not set up to win. And profiteers, they're not married to such things. They're a bit more fluid. Whatever's going to make the money, they rolling with. If compassion is what they find to be most profitable, they're pouring all their money into compassion. If war is what makes it most profit, they're going to pour all their money into war. They're not hell-bent or emotional about anything. That's why they're easier to work with, because all you got to do is appeal to their ability to make profit, and you can have your will be done regardless of what side of the moral spectrum you're on. When it comes to Zionism, that's not the case. And so I just don't think that, I think that we're getting into a space where if I'm reading the tea leaves, they're going to have to start working their situation out, and I don't know how you do that. I don't think they're going to stay on the same path for much longer. And I tell you, some of these Zionists, they have to understand who they want to be going forward. Are you all about the ball thing, or are you all about the money thing? Because just like when it comes to worshiping God and worshiping money, you can't do both. And although the rule doesn't tell you this, when it comes to worshiping the devil and worshiping money, the same rule applies. The same rule applies. They're just not as honest about it, and they don't need to be, because they're devil worshippers and they're liars and they're losers. But the reality is, the same rule applies. You can't worship the devil and worship money. You can't worship God and worship money. You got to pick one and follow it all the way through. If you walk that teetered line, whatever you're going to do is going to fail. You could try, it ain't going to work. And so that's what I'm here to tell y'all. I've been doing a lot of praying. I didn't know where I was going to go with this video, but that's exactly what the Lord put in my heart, is that thought, that fleeting thought in the back of my mind. Like, yo, we predicted 2 years ago that white supremacy and Zionism are going to have to fight. American whites specifically. The ego of American whites, and I say this with a whole lot of confidence, a lot of understanding as an American myself. The ego of American whites will not capitulate to somebody being greater than them. Not unless forced to. You understand what I'm saying to you? White supremacy is not going to capitulate to other facets of white supremacy that don't exalt its flag. Not without being absolutely and utterly compelled and blackmailed. And while they are blackmailed, they are compelled right now. Zionism has white supremacy, American white supremacy by the balls, for certain. We see that. They own their government. At this point, they're merging their militaries. Everything that we're doing, they got the president completely. Zionism's running the show, obviously. But I'm telling you, these good old boys that string up people that look like me, they ain't about to capitulate to this shit forever. You ain't gonna be able to keep them compromised forever. I know their soul. You ain't gonna be able to do it. At some point in time, they're gonna start rebelling. They got to get knowledgeable first. But as the word spreads and they start realizing what's going on, they're going to start rebelling. They're going to start rebelling, man. And these Jews and these Zionism need to understand this. You don't have control over them. You don't have control over them like that. You have control over them right now. You don't have control over them eternally. They will be formidable when they get their leverage. They're gonna be formidable. You got to deal with them. Are you gonna think you're gonna take their country and all that? God forbid. You got to wipe them out. If you think you're gonna snatch this country from these people just because you got some compromised governments and you're putting certain things in the law, and they seem docile right now, that's temporary, fam. That's a temporary docile nature. These are rebellious people. These are people that left their land, came to this land, killed everybody here, and then enslaved people who were much stronger than them. These are not the people to play with in that regard. Let's just be honest. They're not. And while, like I said, Zionism and white supremacy, just like Zionism and capitalism, all lockstep, all in trio, stepping with one another. But at some point in time, their bottom lines start to separate. The ego and the supremacy of both sides, they can't coexist. It can only be one king. It can only be one king. It can only be one king. And the more I learned about this, I realized Zionists had everything to do with slavery. They had everything to do with keeping us in chains. They had everything to do with a lot of that. And Zionists, a lot of times, from what I'm understanding, were always wealthy. They weren't on the front lines. They weren't fighting. A lot of times. They were sending other people to do the dirty work, and they were sitting back holding pens and writing shit. I could be wrong. But historically, and someone please correct me. Did Jews do a lot of battle fighting? Do they have a lot of that in their history, or were they always in a position to send other people to do that type of thing? Black people, we fought. We fought in every war. We were forced to. White people, always out there fighting. Fighting. Killing shit. Getting killed. How many Jews are actually out there? I'm asking. I don't know. I'm just asking. I honestly have no idea. I'm saying is I'm certain those two are going to fight. I'm not so sure you're going to fight. And judging by how y'all handling Hezbollah, and judging by how y'all handling some of this stuff in the Middle East, y'all ain't handling fighting very well. I'm just being the real. I'm telling you what I'm seeing, man. This is not a stick measuring contest by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just telling you what it is that I've been able to pick up. They ain't winning these wars and these little battles out there. IDF been getting knocked off, man. Chased out. They get beat up, shot down. They losing people, man. And it ain't no just big ass explosions. No, they out there in the streets getting popped. And so I'm asking people, can they win a war if violence is the leverage? Can they win the war if violence is the leverage? Because one thing I know for a fact is that when it comes down to it, these Christian whites, they fight, bro. They fight. And if they turn their attention to Zionist Jews gonna have to fight. They got to fight, man. And I don't know how. I don't know. I'm ignorant. But based on the little that I understand, it ain't working out. It ain't working out, man. Are y'all trained like that? So that's really my take. I don't know, man. I look at all this and I say, okay, they're trying to bring about war. And as I said, the devil wants to kill people no matter what. He wants to see people dead. He don't care how, who, what the context surrounding it, if it's justice, if it's aggression. He don't give a shit. He just wants people to die. That's it. He wants you to die in sin. That's all. If you can engage in some cowardice and lose your life doing so, that is the way for him. But for man and what the man's intentions are, man is trying to appeal to something greater than itself, to empower itself, or to save itself, or to appeal to its ability to allow for it to feed its demons, keep it safe, all that stuff. That's what man is trying to appeal to God in a lot of cases. Or trying to earn it. He's trying to make money. He lives to make money. He dies to make money. He dies to hold the money that he's made and make more of it, even in death. He wants to keep money in his life forever and keep money in the lives of his family members forever. If he ain't appealing to God, he's appealing to paper. Or he's sitting down doing nothing. And as I come to understand a lot of this biblical stuff, what these guys are coming up with, the Zionists, what they're trying to do, they're appealing to something that they believe is greater than themselves. They're doing things that they hope appeal to it. They're looking for victory in regards to gaining power over man. Gaining land and gaining power over man, so that man will worship and obey them and serve them as promised to them in whatever books it is they read. The problem with that is, amongst many things, but the problem in regards to the context that we're speaking of, the problem with that is you got to have the leverage to force that and keep that leverage to maintain it. And little sex secrets in this environment, that ain't gonna hold. That's not gonna hold. That's what I want people to understand. Yes, in 2026, we're looking at pedophilia and all these weird sex things and the sacrificing of children. That shit is horrible. You're getting scorned in the world for that. You're gonna face consequences if people know you do that stuff for certain. That's the worst thing in the world to all of us. 100 years from now, when all of this further transpires, that's not gonna hold. To keep governments in line doing whatever you want to do, that's not gonna hold. That works now. That doesn't hold forever. That's a rope with an expiration date, buddy. That's gonna snap. It's gonna snap. So y'all better find something else, because it's gonna come down to violence. I know it's gonna come down to violence, and it ain't gonna be you sending other people to do the violent act for you. That shit ain't gonna work forever. Because that's what y'all counting on right now. Oh, we want to fight more Iran, we're just gonna send the Americans. Send who we have control over. We send them. That shit ain't gonna hold. That only works in an environment with those where those people are governed too stupid to rebel against that nonsense. Once they rebel against that nonsense, you gotta have something else that keeps them in place. Or you gotta have that ability to crack that whip, to control them and keep them in place. And you gotta be able to deal with the waves of rebellion that are ultimately gonna come from that. And if you can't do the fighting, if you can't do the killing yourself, then you're not gonna be able to sustain that. You're not gonna be able to sustain that. This is an evil conversation. Don't get it twisted. I don't believe that this is good. Any of this is good. None of this is good. I don't want people to think for 1 second that this is something that I believe is a good conversation or something that's constructive to the upkeep of mankind or any of that. I think this is evil. All of this and what we're talking about is wickedness. But wickedness is what's controlling this world right now, man. Wickedness and evil and people who are doing weird shit is what's controlling this world right now. And to understand them is one aspect of it. To predict what they're doing is another. And to furthermore predict what transpires from what it is that they're doing is an entirely different thing. And you got to try to put yourself in their head sometimes. You got to try to put yourself in their head sometimes in order to best maneuver around what it is that they're trying to accomplish. In order to find yourself safe in the world that they control, man. You gotta know what they want. You gotta know what they're going after, and you gotta be able to somewhat predict what's coming their way for what it is that they're doing. Stuff that they may not even see. Difficult, maybe even impossible, but it's definitely worth something to think that way. It's worth something. And I'm telling y'all, racism, it's ugly, man. And as I mentioned many times, it's a leash around the necks of the people. As long as you align with racism, they can appeal to that racism and lead you in whatever direction. This is what we talked about a couple times in the last couple videos. It holds a purpose in controlling human beings. It's not just an ideology passed down from generation to generation with pointless intentions. It holds a purpose. And that purpose is not to exalt any one people, but to control all people. Making it so that people are reacting to said racism and engaging in said racism for generations. And because of those ideologies, as I've already mentioned, I can suggest to you, hey, you shouldn't trust those people, and you're automatically not going to. Or I can suggest, hey, you need to go over there and fight those people, and you're going to be gung-ho about doing so. Or I can suggest to you that that person is not somebody that you should be doing business with or listening to in regards to their wisdom that they're providing, and you're not going to listen to any of that. And it's because of that racism that's going to be inherently in you that tells you who your friends are and who your enemies are, which is never really great math, to be honest with you. That really never holds up perfectly. But people don't question it because it was given to them by people they trusted. Because in the presence of engaging in racism, they engage in a lot of battles for which people were lost. It's just like gang wars. In the presence of being in conflict with that gang, you fought them people, they lost people. So now we got an inherent beef. Even if we try to make peace, it's still going to be some tension. And that's what happens with racism as well. You're going to fight with them people over the course of several generations. And it's always going to, even if you try to find peace, there's always going to be some understanding that some of them battles cost you people that you love, cost them people that they love. That's manipulatable. And that's what they're trying to start the process of in this generation. They want us to start that battle where we start killing each other in the name of our race and then have them type of conflicts over the course of generations. Because it ain't enough that we look back on slavery or look back on different things. They're trying to strum it up so that we will fight in the streets. Kill our strongest soldiers in the name of nothing. And then have this constant tension that can never find peace within it. See, if you know what they're doing, then you're not going to fall victim to it. If you understand why they put the trauma in your life, create the environment for which you either support it or not support it. And then from there, you can hold whatever comes of that in your heart. Oh, when they was coming after my people, y'all didn't come and save us, or you didn't come to our defense. Oh, when they was coming after your people, I remembered when you didn't come to my defense, so I'm definitely not helping you now. That type of environment's created. They strum that up. They want that. They need that in place to control you. That's why I tell people, always support people, man. Always support people that don't look like you, because you know there's a middleman in place that wants you to do that exact thing. It's chess, not checkers, man. It's chess, not checkers. Anytime I see something going on with Spanish people, I'm speaking up. Anytime I see something with the Palestinian stuff, I'm speaking up. Yes, I'm a black person. I love my people. And what does it look like to get a win? Be somebody that people will remember supporting them, so that when you need support, you'll have it. Chess, not checkers, bro. A lot of people are trying to figure out why they should support, because that's how you gain your numbers. People wonder, how do you survive in a world where everybody hates me? Make yourself somebody people don't hate. Listen to people when they talk. Show some compassion, even if you don't feel it. Show it. Display it. Actions speak louder any damn way. And mind you this, there's always that middleman in place that wants you to do the other thing. And he can manipulate that. And that's what we always need to be mindful of, man. Who your real enemy is. Somebody with power, not somebody without it. It ain't somebody without power that's your enemy, poor person. I don't care what you've been taught for the last several generations. You've been in a controlled bubble for generations. Of course, what you remember is all that there is to you, but the reality is that middleman's been in place for 300, 400 years plus, controlling generations of your people so that you think and feel a certain way, and so that you believe your enemies are this and that and the third. You can see it with the anti-Islamic movement alone. Is in a prime example. And when that propaganda deteriorates, what are they left with? When people stop looking at Islam as bad guys and start looking at them as bad guys, we're in that moment right now. Looking at Jonathan Majors in that movie he did, that's supposed to, they have a trailer for this movie that he's doing. That boy didn't disgrace himself for generations. Ain't nobody gonna even want to see nothing from him or his kids or none of that because of what it is he did. This role here is disgraceful because he's pushing that anti-Islamic nonsense onto a people during a time where obviously that's manipulatable. Now, when he took the role, I don't know if we were in the same environment. For all I know, this role was given to him prior to a lot of what it is that we're seeing. But that he's doing this role right now, that this movie's coming out right now, it's disgraceful. It's absolute disgrace, bro. You should have never taken that role. You're a black man. What are you doing supporting anti-Islamic propaganda in a time where we're watching a genocide? Every couple of days, I'm seeing the images that I've been describing to you guys. And then I see this black man sitting up here doing this movie in a time where they really need this movie to hit and for people to believe the propaganda. And one thing I understand about this enemy of ours, people, is they're always going to use people that look like you to do the dirty work of controlling you or getting you in line. These are old slave tactics. This is why it's so important that we learn the history, because they run the same plays, man. Hispanic ICE agents, you're going to see more Hispanic ICE agents than you're going to see anything else. Just like you're going to see more black slave catchers than you're going to see anything else. It's the same damn plays. And when it's time to look at it, and it's time for them to try to manipulate your mind into believing some bullcrap, they're going to send somebody at you that looks like you to push that towards you. Because they know they ain't going to reach you with their white faces, but they can definitely reach you with their brown faces. They can definitely reach you with them black faces. An individual like, what's that guy that's coming out right now that we mentioned a couple times? Officer Tatum. Controlled completely. He is moving in ways that only they would be pleased with. He knows damn well he disgraced his people. He knows damn well he disgraced himself with that nonsense. But they control him however way they do. And so he's moving in that disgraceful fashion, looking to push divide, further frustration amongst people of color, for which he's from. He is not, and this is something about this Tatum dude, he is not what you would consider a brother outside of the culture. When you listen to him talk, he He grew up around black people. He grew up in an inner city neighborhood of some kind. Listen to his dialect. He don't talk like somebody who was outside of that environment, raised around people doing conservative shit. No, that's a brother. He is compromised. He's compromised. There's a difference between somebody raised in their environment, raised by their people, and them finding a brother who's willing to do their duty. This is a brother that's willing to do their duty. And that's exactly what they're looking for more of. And you're going to count on them finding more of them too. They thought they had Candace Owens. And for a time, they did. But God had bigger plans for her spirit and for her purpose. And so she wasn't going to stay under that cloak for long. They thought they had her. Didn't work out. But they definitely got this brother. And so you're going to always find these individuals who are willing to do this. I don't know what we can do in this world to try to teach our kids how to survive without becoming an enemy of their own people. I don't know of Officer Tatum enough to say what pushed him in this direction. Is he a sex sicko that they found information on? Is he somebody who killed somebody back in the day and they told him he's going to go to prison if he don't do what they say? Is he just a money grub dummy who's just, they gave him enough money to do this and he just gonna do it? Is he somebody who's psychologically traumatized by his own people, hates his own people, and they understand that and have pushed the buttons to immobilize him against his own people? I don't know what's his psychology or what the circumstances are around him, but there has to be something that we can do in our communities to help our kids grow to love themselves, love their people, while still being able to maneuver in this white supremacist world. This ain't the way, brother. This ain't the way to capitulate to white supremacy and further empower it toward destroying your own people. That's not the way forward, man. And so I just, I see so many, like I said, Hispanic ICE agents, and it's disheartening. I'm not a Hispanic person, so I can only speak to that to a certain point. I feel much most comfortable speaking about people like Officer Tatum than I do about these Mexican and Spanish ICE agents. But it bothers me the same way. Or these guys in the Middle East who are, in a position to help their people but refuse to, or in a position to help their fellow neighbor but refuse to. It's very disturbing, man. It's very disturbing. And like I said, I don't know what's in people's minds and make them hate themselves or hate their people or see this as the only way to go forward, but you got to find some other way to raise your kids than to allow for them to fall into these spaces where they just want to turn against their own people. And so that's tough, man. I really feel bad for anybody who's raised that way, because you're going to be disgraced, man. History's not going to be kind to you. It's not. It's going to be very unkind to you, as a matter of fact. That's not the position to take at all. But that's neither here nor there, man. I just, like I said, I understand that it's tough for people, even if you do. I'm going to tell you like this. They're trying to make it harder and harder for you to have naturalized citizenship, man. You got to be basically born here and have your grandparents born here and your great-grandparents born here going forward in order to keep these people off your ass. I'm just being honest. If your parents or your grandparents was born anywhere other than America, you can expect that they're going to try to make it harder and harder for you to stay here too, man. And that's just what it is. Y'all got to know that now. Know that now. So when they do change the laws or make it much more difficult or start having y'all taking classes every 3 weeks, proving that you understand certain things so that you can stay in this country, don't be surprised by that type of stuff, because that's exactly what I think is coming. Until they realize that they're eating away at too much of the consumerism that ultimately props up a lot of these billionaires to be as wealthy as they are. That's when, again, those two conflicting sides are going to have to make peace with one another. They're going to have to find a way to find some middle ground. Because you can't sop away everybody who's buying everything away from the money pit that is America, and then expect for the people that makes the money to continue making the same amount of money. That's why I say American white supremacy is doing Zionism's dirty work right now. But as we start to continue to see what's going to transpire, it's not going to make as much sense to them to do it anymore. They're going to have to continue to be, they got to be very compromised to want to do that, because it's not going to make sense to them anymore. They're going to start losing money in some ways that they were not counting on losing. You can't remove the consumers from the equation. You can't do it. And so that's really what it comes down to, man. Oh, and one more thing, what I'm learning. We have not talked about data centers at all on this channel. I was not very knowledgeable about data centers. But I did hear something that I thought was extremely interesting. It perked my ears up a lot. Essentially, a lot of what's going on with these data centers traces back to Israel. It traces back to Israel. That they are, in fact, building these data centers for Israel. One person said that they think, and this is just something that they thought, that they were siphoning up the water to send to underground cities that they've been building, so that when the World War or whatever starts, when they start using these nuclear weapons, they could have somewhere to go to. So they're siphoning up all the water and sending it into those spaces. I think that's a reasonable thought. I would tell them, though, I wouldn't trust the underground like that. I wouldn't trust the underground like that. I wouldn't trust that. I don't know if the math makes sense on that, ladies and gentlemen. If y'all plan on disappearing into the depths of the earth, when the earth itself becomes a nuclear cesspool, I don't think you want to be in the middle of the earth when that happens. I don't think you want to be underground when that's going on. That may not be your solution. I'm just telling y'all. You know, it's I will say this. As a person who believes in God, I think they're setting themselves up for failure if that's what they're doing. If you plan on escaping into underground cities that you're creating for yourselves so that you can escape nuclear warfare, I got a bad feeling about that for you. Especially understanding where your morals are. That's going to be bad. That's not going to be what you think it is. No, that's not going to. No, that's not good. Just telling the truth. Y'all don't value good people. If you don't value good people, that's a mistake. There are a lot of fires that are not taking place because of decent individuals. Decent individuals that you don't care nothing about. There's a lot of fires that are not burning right now. If you remove all of those people and you remain with only yourselves, you're going to see more fires than you've ever seen in your lives. And so if you're comfortable with that, go ahead and remove all these people that you think are stupid and bleeding hearts and all that. Remove them, and you're going to find out that your math about what it looks like when you do so is off. It's not what you think. Bad people know they're bad, right? Bad people know they're bad, right? I'm going to say this. Most people who are not good human beings, they understand that. They may not say anything like that out loud. They understand that. If you surround yourself with a bunch of people like you, do you know what the environment actually is? Hell. Because hell is also that environment where there are no good people there. There's a bunch of people who are bad who know they're bad. There's a bunch of people who don't care about other people and would sell people down the river. If you surround yourself with nothing but that, then you have what the Lord has created for all of you, which is hell. Now, if you're confused about what a good person is versus a bad person, then that's a whole different story. But for those of us who are not confused, you do not want to be in a space where it's just y'all there. It's just like jail. You don't want to put yourself in a position where it's only bad people there. You don't ever want to be in that space. It's only bad people. You don't want that. You don't want that. So I'll tell all of you who are planning on going on these underground, and the trillionaire, billionaires who are planning on surrounding themselves with only their people and the slaves that they have to use for sex slaves and all that, I can promise you, that doesn't look like what you see in your head. It don't. You might want to think about that a little further. And you trying to tell me that there's no way to escape? All you got is the underground and a bunch of y'all and a bunch of water and whatever y'all build down there and luxury? No. That's gonna be bad. That's not gonna be very pleasant for very long. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say, man. I just wanted to get this out. I see my draft has started, but it's an hour between each pick, so only one pick has been done. I don't know if this is going to record properly, so it's a good chance that you may not be able to hear me here. But I tried to give y'all what the Lord put in my heart today, man. And I'll continue to make videos like this in the future. Just speculating, talking, you know, and giving people what I think the Lord wants me to say. And the one thing that I can leave you with is support people, man. Support people who don't look like you. Support people who do. Support people when they're telling you they're in pain. Support people when they're telling you they're struggling, especially when there's evidence that there is that going on. Don't wait for someone next to you to show compassion. Show it first, man. That's how you give yourself a good name, and that's how you open the door. When it's time to run, wherever that may be, whatever circumstance that may be, when it's time to run, you'll have somewhere to go if you support people that don't look like you, man. When it's time to make fire, you'll have somebody who knows how to do that, who'll be willing to help you, man. Because we don't know what's coming. We don't know what's coming, man. But what we do understand is if we are friends with one another, we can get through it together. But if we're all separating at war, that's not an environment from which many people are going to survive. Bdf 44. And thank you all for watching. I'm out.